Hi guys, it's me, Gentle Anderson again, and for this video that I will be dedicating to a month of love, February in 2026, I shall be talking about the next in line in the God of War franchise, that being God of War 2. Yeah, I know the name for this is really shocking. But, yeah, this game kicks ass. You might be asking yourself, but Joe, Chains of Olympus is the next in line as far as story goes. Why don't you talk about that one next? Well, shut up. And second of all, I'm going to be covering all the games as they come in order of release date because, as you can see, this franchise doesn't go by 1, 2, 3, and then the next series like God of War, Ragnarok, and so on and so forth. It turns out that it goes in 1 and 2, then a prequel, then a prequel, that one, and so on and so forth. So it kind of like, fragments into several different prequels and sequels to prequels and yada 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 yakety. So this one's gonna be interesting because this one takes place after God of War 1, and it's the most direct sequel to it. I don't know how much time gap between them 1 and 2 this takes place in, but yeah, it takes place like some years after, like 10 years after the first game. It's been a while since I compared them, but yeah. For God of War 2, this was like kind of really epic. And it was like the first time that you could see that classical mythology actually broke. And what I mean by that is that in the first game, all the main characters are pretty much where they were in the start positions according to mythology, such that you had the king of the gods Zeus up there in heaven, around Mount Olympus. Yeah, he did in the underworld, and that was that. It was pretty much quite literally by the book. In this game, and many other consequent games, you got the gods and the titans changing their positions, moving around, and also featuring other locations and job descriptions, as we'll see soon enough. But all this comes from when Kratos killed God of War Ares from the first game, and he filled the void that's made by that. So, turns out that Kratos enjoys his job a little too much, and he inspired the ire of Zeus because of a little plot MacGuffin from the first game called Pandora's Box, which is more of a jar but under grass. And we also see a bunch of other figures in Greek mythology to feature in this besides gods, goddesses, and mythological beasts. So I would say that in this game, the writers and the creators of this game kind of how to put this. I wouldn't say they're scraping the bottom yet, but they're more like they're digging deeper in Greek mythology because they involve other creatures that you probably didn't hear of, as well as heroes in the Greek pantheon and like Perseus, Theseus, Odysseus, as well as Titans and the involved Colossus Rhodes too. And a bunch of new toys like the Blade of Olympus, which resembles against Greek mythology, as well as here's a new signature blade, which are I think they're the Blades of Athena, which is pretty much the same thing as the Blades of Chaos from the first game. So anyway, we start out with, like I said, with Kratos as the new God of War. He's more brutal than ever, and he's gotta go to Sparta to take care of something because the Colossus Rhodes is over there making a big mess of things. And yeah, that was a pretty cool boss fight. They incorporate all the level design into it too, so it makes like a nice break between it and the actual fight, the actual boss. And I like the fact that they kind of creative with it and they infuse godly power into it. So anyway, but I find it interesting that they have an eagle land on the Colossus Road to make it into the boss, and then Kratos brings Athena for it, being that he was trying to hold back the power of he was saying that the gods of Olympus were tired of your ways, and they want to end you, and so that I can no longer protect you against Zeus's death and all that. So he blames Athena for it, so he shoves away. Now this is funny because you would think that Kratos was very big with Athena would know all about her symbology and know that the owl is actually her symbol, her symbolic bird, being that it symbolizes wisdom and strategy like in the myth, and that as the goddess of war, she's all about that kind of thing, like strategy, mental prowess, and all of that. Whereas Ares was about brute force and killing things like that, and chaos, and death. So, you would think you would know that by now. So anyway, he goes to Rhodes, he deals with this thing, and then Zeus ends up giving him the Blade of Olympus, which is basically a big long sword, no compensation in whatsoever in there. But it's very funny that he said that that Kratos should drain his godly power into it to defeat the Colossus Rhodes. Now, many of the things that are featured in Greek mythology, in classical Greek mythology, are because of Zeus drained the power into some more woman that didn't ask for it and didn't want it either. So yeah, take stuff what you will. So yeah, and he says that what do you call I like the whole level equal part of the boss fight too. Because in the first game, the fight with Ares and that weird dead Minotaur, that giant Minotaur boss, they were just standalone bosses, the enemy and all that. There were no actual level bosses. But in this game, it started to trend about you can also put the Hydra in it too. But in this game, it started to trend about the whole level being the boss. With that massive. And I like the fact that Kratos climbed into the boss and fights him on the inside out. Kind of like a virus. Kind of like Kratos being a very angry cancer. And it's actually pretty good with the way they do that. The way they show the brain of this almost mecha thing Colossus Rhodes. It's eventually defeated after Kratos ripped it apart from the inside out. And he's doing the look at me, I'm awesome, are you not entertained type of speech. And then right away the Colossus and his last slaves crush him under his fingers. So basically the entire game is set up because Kratos was dumb and that he didn't look behind him to see, did I defeat that guy all the way, or do I have to wait? So because he was distracted by a shiny object, that's what happened. He got too big, too powerful for his own britches. He got destroyed. But before I move on with this, I like the fact that they give all the magic and weapons from the first game to Kratos. Anyway, he gets defeated, his armor is crushed, he is almost very badly damaged. You can almost hear the wailing siren from the Pokemon games going off like the woo woo woo. He's got low health. So all this godly strength is in the sword, which Zeus probably takes away from him. And he says that he's grown too powerful, and that he threatens Olympus, and that Kratos should be put to death unless he swears an oath to serve out Zeus and Olympus. Now this is funny because I find it very hilarious that in the first game, Zeus commanded him to take care of Ares himself. Rather than him doing it himself, because he's his son and Zeus was, they couldn't get involved with killing each other because of some bylaw or something like that. So he had Kratos do it eventually with for him. So basically you're chastising your own guy for doing something that you wanted him to do to a T. That you excelled his performance guidelines. That don't make much sense. That just make Kratos even more angry and more pissed off. So anyway, yeah, he doesn't take the oath, and I fear for him getting betrayed by Kratos, which isn't accurate. thing that happened in the game. He ends up stabbing Kratos in the stomach area with this big ass sword, and then the arms of Hades and take him to Hades, or try to anyway. Now, to my knowledge, that's the only time that the Hades hands actually appear in the games, or in anything involving Greek mythology, because I don't think that they are a thing. But they end up taking down Hades. Gaia, on the other hand, had other imaginations for him. Quite literally Deus Ex Machina, or Deus Ex Machina, and she wills Kratos back to being alive because she says that dying is a coward's way out. Are you a coward? No. So he wills himself to be alive again because it's that pissed off. He's probably more pissed off than the Hulk is. Will break it for him. So anyway, he ends up clawing his way out of Hades, or like the very tip of Hades. Because at this point he's like, been there, done that. So he claws out of it, and then he has to go to the Fates Island to go take care of it, to get the Fates to undo what happened. And I really like the Pegasus design in this. Looks more like something you would expect from Ghost Rider, or say he himself to ride, which is a cool thing with a Pegasus. And on the way there, you go to a Typhoon's little bungalow in the mountains, and you pick up Rage of Titans mode from Prometheus, and that's very fun because this whole thing is basically one big quest to find the Sisters of Fate, Clotho, Isis, and Tropos. And I don't know if I get that wrong, but that's the way I'm pronouncing it. Anyway, he fights with Typhon or Typhon, one of the two, and he eventually gets out of his little mountain keep, that way he was taken away by Zeus years ago, and then we go into the islands of Creation and deal with this deed's time, a gift from Kronos. Now, I like the way, in the game, there's like an enemy that uses the Spear of Destiny, which later on will become a stable weapon for Kratos. And I like the way it's a stabbing weapon, and it's got a twisting end to it. And it's like I should put this again, an extendable one. Each clear, the cotton swirls. And the name of it's like the design from the Spear of Destiny, the spear that mercy to Christ. So that's kind of like setting up the rise of Christ and Christianity on the game in the middle, which is kind of continuity. Anyway, you fight the guy, and then they pick up as a main weapon. One of many main weapons in the game. So anyway, you fight with various enemies in Greek mythology like Cerberus, like to fight with CTS, just the biggest kiss ass to Zeus in the whole wide world. And I like the time too. I like the way that they whipped into shape to make the join together the two islands creation. Cool name, by the way. Because this creates the world's most pissed off atheist. Of course, with horses like that, like the way he does with the chains of with his signature weapons, the birds of Athena. So yeah, let's see, they also got a new collectible item, the suit with Cyclopses. Now, I never actually saw anyone actually get 20 Cyclops eyes before, and I'm curious to know if anyone actually did that. And speaking of which, they got a little defeated boars. I don't know if that comment mythology or not, but they climb onto the Cyclopses and they make like living gigantic slave beasts out of them. To the point that I feel really bad for them getting rid on and being forced to do battle with Kratos with them. Let's see now. They have the fight with Medusa's sister, Uriel, which and that's another reason why I think that they kind of dug deep with the mythology thing. Nobody knows who Uriel is, except for like scholars of the subject of mythology. So I find that funny because in the first game they mentioned Medusa that you have to slay her for Aphrodite, I believe. But the thing of it is that when it comes to that, it's kind of like a waste of opportunity because it's basically just a big Gorgon boss, but it's kind of it's very common the way it's set up, and it's very there's no gravitas for it. But with this one, they got a separate room and a separate strategy to deal with Uriel, which is basically what would happen is she loves to go too much. Medusa ate too much. Like if you combine Medusa and Fat Princess. So anyway, is he and also get a nice little callback to the past with the Barbarian King. And the Barbarian King is an enemy that you fight with Kratos and get his hammer afterwards of the boss fight. And it's awesome. It's basically just a big meat tenderizer with spikes on the end of it, on the head. And that's really funny. And I love whenever Kratos does the ballerina spin while growling at it as it's attacked with it. And during the boss fight, you actually get to a cameo from the ship captain from the first game, it's really funny, like, the barbarian king can summon spirits for you to fight with you, and it's really funny because, like, he's the only one in the spirit that is like, no, I want anybody. You run away from him. You'll get resurrected somehow. But no, I've been killed eventually, and the barbarian can go down too. But I like the way his little horse is basically a Clydesdale version of your zombie horse, the Pegasus. That's pretty cool. So anyway, you see him with this new weapon, and pretty much it's the Blade of Artemis from the first game, this big giant cudgel that you use to smash object enemies with, but you can't parry it. By the way, along the way you find the mythical golden fleece, which in this one the golden fleece doesn't actually protect you from anything, but it's really good at parrying attacks. And there's no limit to the amount of attack energy that it can deflect back at the user. And the fact that it's got like a unique sound effect to it makes double awesome. I love this sound effect. I love when they use it in battle, and that's really cool. I like it. And then blast back at the enemy. Now also, it said that it can be used to deflect magical attacks and projectile attacks, and fireballs and all that. But what's really funny is that this thing can also be used to deflect other attacks as well, like other physical attacks. And I like the way Kratos just takes the attack and the attack energy and just pounds the ground with it. Like, you know, like a big baby, like pounds the ground. And from there you get like a volcano blowing up. And it's really effective. So anyway, also another part of the little adventure that I like is the fact that there can be so many different enemies of varying types and advantages and stuff on the screen at one time. But there are some bullshit parts to this game too. I don't like them too much. And one is the part where they have like a double gears in what look to be chocolate syrup. It's supposed to be like boiling lava or boiling blood or something, but it come out of like Hershey's or something. Anyway, you gotta fight the enemies while rotating a giant gear set to get to the other side. That's a big waste of time. Another part is the part with the tree roots like growing in the temple area too, where you spent the majority of the game. That's a big waste, a big pain in the ass too, because if I were actually playing it, by the way, I saw this on a video of the whole game. I'll put the link for it in the description below. But in any case, I can see myself for full time in there. And also getting the power of time travel and slowing time down. You know, you can't speed that because who wants that? Anyway, if I would play a game and I would get that root part of it, I could still see myself falling off because again, they have it so that you can control the camera in that moment. And also, I give credit to the developers when they put the I am become death in the beginning of the Destroyer Worlds. A quote from Robert Oppenheimer. That was actually pretty cool. Because basically, since Kratos was able to destroy certain gods and goddesses in this time period, he is pretty much the destroyer of worlds and the destroyer of everything. So anyway, they had it where you do that. Then you fight with Perseus, which he's not in the place where he is not in the big book of Common Mythology. He's in like a waiting pool. Although, you would think that he was able to take down Medusa at one point. You think he'd be able to, I think he was the one who took down Medusa. You think he'd be able to figure out a way to get out of the pool area, before he became wrinkled and such. But anyway, in any case, he takes on a very ticked off Kratos, and he fails big time, bigly, and he left broken and bruised and hanging from a chain. Now, I don't know who the actor is who plays Perseus, but they got him from the original Clash of the Titans, so very good for that. They will also do the same thing for when Hercules appears in God of War 3, in which they got Kevin Sorbo of all people to voice him, like he did in Hercules, the show. That was actually really good. So, let's see here. I like the part where, the part where you have just like the beams of light come from the such head of Lachesis that could progress the rest of the game. And it's funny because in the first statue, a normal face of hers, which by the way, I think that Lachesis is best looking out of the three sisters. Anyway, but then the second statue of her face looks like she's angry, like Kratos says, and she looks like a demon. So, anyway, they took that, then Joe took that, and they also show in Kratos is destroying a bunch of statue heads of Lachesis. And at first, I was like, okay, this is the real statue. But then when it started talking to Kratos, I was like, holy shit. Yeah. And, you can talk. So, anyway. So then he destroyed the statue, which is more like a taste of things to come. Because that's the big boss fight at the end of the game. So, then they also show the entire pantheon of Greek gods. Ares that died, that was deceased. In the first game, we have Zeus, Poseidon, he's somebody else who Helios, which will all get their turn to die in the next game, in the next number 3. But for right now, I want to pay attention to Athena's statue, because Athena croaks in this game too. Spoiler alert. But her statue, when the act is destroyable, so it kind of leads into the fact that she died in the end of the game. So anyway, one thing to notice is that these gods featured in this game look a lot different than what they did in the first game. Because in the first game, the continuity was pretty much set. And they thought that game, the original God of War in 2005, would be it. That the game will be done. There'd be no more other franchise material after this. But it kept coming back more permanently with that popularity. So they decided to make the character more human-like. Like he's more human-like, with a big helmet on it, like a big inferno. And they gave images when this game came out. Once this game came out in 2007, and the first one came out in 2005. So they thought that, the place of God of War, that'd be it. It'd be a done deal. But then they decided to milk it even further and say that, that's the source Hume Kratos want to take revenge on all the Pantheon. And later on it would be the Norse, and then possibly the Egyptian Pantheon. Which, by the way, I would prefer that it be the Japanese Pantheon. Not because of like Japanese culture and that kind of thing, but because I think that there's more of uniqueness with the Japanese Pantheon. For example, like with each of these pantheons, there's like a god of blank, there's a god of the sky, there's a god of the sun, for example. But in Japanese mythology, it's more diverse in that regard. The jobs are more diverse. So anyway, you see, Kratos defeating god after god, creature after creature. You see him defeat the Cerberus monsters, multiple intact. And then he continues on with being his normal, lovable self. And I like the way later on in the game he sacrifice to priests to the fates to the pathway to get to them. And it's quite cool the way it happens because he had to protect them from the other enemies, the cheaters and the zombies and everything else. So it's funny that like he reserves his right to kill for himself because he can only have them do it. But it's also funny that Kratos can't read ancient Greek to have other people do it for him. And even in the reading, forcing the people to read. You gotta be a bit of a dick too, because you gotta have them when they refuse to read, he gives them all good contents, which is really funny, because how are you gonna read if someone keeps hitting you in the head with objects? Anyway, he uses the power to get him to do that. And I like the one way he uses the power of Time Stone, which is green too. By the way, this is before the MCU, so I guess the MCU borrowed the idea of having a green Time Stone from this game, and he saves a guy, a high priest, so that he can become himself the sacrifice of the blood. But anyway, it's yeah. Also meet an old friend of mine, Igris, with his lovely wings that easily detached. And he played with Kratos, even though Kratos doesn't want to piece of him, but he keeps poking the bear, until eventually they fall off the edge of the pathway to the Sisters of Fate. And then Igris falling straight down into Tartarus, whereas Kratos glides to Michael Clark Duncan, who voices Atlas. Now I like the way Atlas is like this. He's like Bubble with fire and all that, brimstone and all that. So that's really cool to have him move. Whenever Kratos climbs on him and all that. It's that you kind of find it and climbing on top of it inside of Atlas, being the most powerful Titan in the whole everything. And his punishment is holding the world against the sea, which is in some opinions. And they do because Michael Clark in real life is a real gentle giant, much like this guy is. So anyway, I actually wonder if the Atlas, feeling Kratos crawling over his body, more like a fly or something, an insect or a spider climbing on top of us. Like, we got an itch, we can't scratch it. So it must drive him crazy to have Kratos doing all that to him, or tickling him for all I care. So anyway, just seeing him he does talk to Kratos like he already spoken to him before and that they already met before. So that's a very good indication about what's going to happen with Chains of Olympus, where he ended up being used by Persephone to destroy the world in the world pillar. But in this game, we don't know about that yet. But it's one of the things where it's like it's just coming up in a few months that the release of that game. It's like kind of like a sneak peek to get everyone ready for it. So anyway, it's the Atlas, using the Atlas quick magic. Because you see, in this game, rather than holding on the side of the gods, they have to get each to get its magical attacks from somewhere other than the gods, because the gods are like they're starting to be shooting at the enemy at this point. So you got alliance with other magical givers. So that's where Atlas and Kronos comes into play. So that's what happened. In the first game, they were allied more with the gods because the gods needed him for something. Now, the Titans need him for something. And they're on the same side at least. So anyway, after he proved himself that he wants to kill Zeus, and since he talked about the beautiful Olympus to Atlas, he says, I haven't heard that name for a long time. And named him, and he shoves him back up into the hole they pulled into. And that's pretty funny because the game makes him like this hole is like this huge thing. It's like a mile. It's like over 10 miles long hole. But Atlas shoves his fist into the hole and delivers Kronos to the top of it. With a very mangled hand, by the way, from the chain he was getting. So, how could you do this? You would have to have really long arms for it to happen, and his arms ain't got long. It was like. So, anyway, he continues on his quest, and then he goes to the Temple of the Fates, and he ends up fighting a bunch of baddies, and then he finally delivered to the realm of Lachesis, the throne of Lachesis, the middle person on the feet, the one that determines the lifespan of mortals and gods. It's like you cannot change your fate, Kratos. But if you're just like getting you by a woman, I'll kill you anyway. So they get into a fight, and her sister, Atropos, gets involved with it too. And then they have time travel shenanigans where they go back to the first fight with Kratos and Ares and the blade of the gods, that big giant blade that Kratos used to impale that god of war Ares. And she said that if we just throw the sword now, you won't be able to attack Ares, and therefore it won't exist now. So anyway, she tried to attack the blade, but then Kratos kills her, or so we think. Now, what's funny to note is that we don't actually see the true form of her underneath child, because everything below the chest area is like a jet engine that keeps on going, and it's really funny, like a mermaid, or mermaid's the best way to put it, and it's always in motion, like a jet plane. So anyway, they have this fight, and she knocked out onto the sword, and she falls off the edge when the big moment comes when Kratos kills Ares with it. So she's stuck in the past now. But then the fight with Lachesis continues on in the present, and then he ends up destroying her and shoving her into a mirror wall with her sister. So basically, he killed two birds with one stone, quite literally, and he ends up getting stuck in time and not existing on some kind of spiritual realm where nothing makes sense and it still exists, but outside no more space of time. And so that this could probably restore everything back the way it was if he had survived. So anyway, you have the part where Chris had to fight the last sister, Clotho, the one that's been the fake string for each person in God. And I can understand where they got the design philosophy for the other two. They're basically meat, but Lakeisha is basically a woman in her prime. She's 20 to 30s, and she looks human, but one boob out. But that's fine. A Trobos is basically human except for the jet engine up her ass. And she's an old crone that can cut the line whenever take the thread off. Except, when they think of it, they have all the feet for, they have all the power to do anything they want to the fate of human and gods, and they claim to have the more powerful of all gods. But I thought that love was the more powerful force in the Greek pantheon, especially with Aphrodite and all that. So, also, I was wondering, is every creature and being in this universe has a thread of life for itself and can be cut by a Trobos? Does that mean that they themselves have their own threads of life? The Clotho, Lachesis, and the Trobos have their own life string. Of course, they're cut by Mr. Krios there. But still the point still stands. So anyway, a Trobos is basically a lead that's like we're jetting into the butt. So with long gray pigtails. So anyway, they're both human beings for the most part. But Clotho is basically a giant that mound of arms and tits, and you have to fight each arm and stuff in the stage. And remember way back when I mentioned that the Spear of Destiny being like a kind of a harbinger for the idea of Christ in his universe. This mural is actually part and parcel to that. That they mentioned the three wise men and Christ. So there's that. So anyway, that's kind of funny. It's also mention of the fact that Greece became how do you put this, like a they have their own branch of Christianity known as Eastern Orthodox. Eastern Orthodoxy. So there's something to that it kind of predicted all this. I don't know if that was intentional, if they did one for general that Christianity will come out of this too. Also, for the same matter, they mentioned that when Kratos opened up Pandora's box, he absorbed the power of hope. So that could also be they could also be mentioned in God of War 2 also, that because he gave the humans the power of hope, and all that it could be tied to Jesus Christ and stuff. Which for the bigger question, if we're going by Christian logic and all that, if Jesus is supposed to be the Son of God, and Christ killed all gods, how did Jesus manifest? Unless the only thing I can gather is that all the pantheons, the Greek pantheon, the Egyptian pantheon, and the Norse pantheon, they're all in charge of their own realms. Greece, Norway, and Egypt, respectively. But that, when it comes down to it, they're nothing. There's always gonna be a high power above them. So like the Abrahamic God would cover everybody as being the supreme power of all. Not even Chris can beat that. Although I still would like to see what would happen if they ever pit Jesus Christ against Kratos. That would be fun. That'd be a pay-per-view of that big proportion. So anyway, they have this meal, they have to kill a bunch of enemies. And you have to do this gauntlet, if you will, of the siege hazards of colossal arms. And it's quite nice the way you kill her by doing top arms. And did I mention that she's more like a giant silkworm, a big blue silkworm with lots of the tits. And it's actually really funny that I mentioned that, because you're to a human, more or less. So how did you get the giant blob or silkworm out to of the human sisters? I don't get it. I don't get that really happen. I mean, it's not in the book. It's not in mythology or anything like that. So anyway, they show Kratos having to take a big giant guillotine and shoving it into her head, which is both gruesome and really awesome at the same time. So in any case, you end up traveling back in time to when Zeus betrayed Kratos, and then you defeat Zeus again in a very awesome, very long boss fight. And that's by itself very awesome. Only to be topped by number 3, God of War 3. But before that, after that, during the fight, Kratos Kratos please Possum ends up to be killed by the king of the gods, and so he dodges the attack with his blade and kills him, and not kills him, but he's about to kill him with the blade, shoving him right into his belly, like in the first part of, like in the first fight, where Chris lost, and then Athena ends up taking the blade for her daddy, and then it's revealed that Kratos is in fact his son. So to the you are the father joke from I think more. So anyway, that was like really fun. And when Athena dies, she's like it's all peaceful, all quiet. You know, rather than dying like the other guys do, she like gives a farewell speech as she's fading away, like Marty McFly. And it's really kind of funny because this actress who does the voice for other Greek-inspired games. So anyway, go back in time to when the Titans were about to lose the war with the Greek gods, and then you end up storming the Mount Olympus with the Titans. You're actually riding like a big stage. So that's actually really funny. It's like the first from the Disney movie, Lucy, I'm Home. And there's also part of the Phoenix in the middle of the game too, after you fight the Kraken, which I don't like the design of the Kraken in this game. Also, there's a part I hated in the beginning in the whole game where you fight with skeletons against a crushing of a big spike ceiling, and you gotta ride this platform down, and the skeletons always try to block their path and fall until you destroy them. Let's see if well there. Yeah, there's the captain of the Spartan army, which by all accounts is a regular human being, but he was able to do all the traps that by the fates. He was able to get around all that, even with surpassing all the street tests that normally Kratos would be able to do because he's a demigod. So I don't get it. How can a regular human being do all this stuff and then reset all the traps and puzzles to be in the go position? That doesn't make any sense. Nor does it make any sense that during the 2D fight with Kratos, he was like able to stand his ground pretty well. And I love the way they do it in a 2D format. You would think though that Kratos, that guy would be able to say, hey my lord, I'm on your side. Don't kill me. But he ends up being killed by Kratos. Not being hacked to pieces. You would think that he would be cut or something like that. So the body is used in the Kraken fight. And more than Phoenix is that I like the way Chris can kill the Phoenix, and rather than having reverence for Firebird, he actually does one thing that he shouldn't do: stick his sword into the Firebird and could quit to fly him to the Palace of the Apes. Then, of all the places in time that Chris could go to, he chooses the Taijinamaki, which is the fight with the Titans and the gods. And then he ends up going back to them and bringing them back into the future by going 8 miles an hour into the wind. Now, I want to know what happens if you select a time period that is not what they destined for you to pick out. Like, let's say if you want to go to, say, part with the Kraken, or the part where you get on the city to see the time, you couldn't do that, right? Because it's not programmed in the game to do that. Also, I wonder what would happen if you fight with the original self from the game. The game that the guy that Zeus had stabbed. That eventually wouldn't happen at all. So you remind me of the time travel episode of Family Guy, like where you have two people, one from the future, one from the past, where one has like a bunch of experiences, but then when they go back to the original, they forget, they do something and they forget about what experiences of the original one, because the original one got destroyed or something. So it reminds me a lot like that. Because look, I also like the way when Zeus is actually fighting with Kratos, he barks like a dog, like bah, bah. And I like the way his beard moves around too. As the girl you would expect for the real Zeus look. See, well, I just love this game. But there is one question that's not answered. When you show when Zeus is a little boy and his father Kronos tried to eat him, he showed this massive, huge body, and then they showed his mother, Rhea, as being, a human-sized character. How in the hell does that work out in production? Can you tell me how can that happen when his Johnson's got bigger than she is? Almost that implies that maybe Kronos can actually shrink himself down or use a magic power to impregnate the woman. And that's kind of out there. But yeah, that was everyone's mind when it's taken out. How did these two hook up? So yeah, anyway, So it leads to the perfect, the game where Zeus is having a little power with his brothers and his brothers. He is Poseidon and Hermes, Helios, and the rest. But we put aside pay differences, and we will destroy this plague, this fallen person. And yeah, he does that. But a little foreshadowing is when they show when they show the marble statue of Zeus crumbling, that means that he'll die. And it's real funny that because Kratos put in his godly power into the ability of Olympus, they show Kratos now at the end of the game re-powered up, powerful and all that, from being Samus Aran in the first part when he drained the power into his sword. So now it's like he gets the power of two gods. One with its original power. From God War 1 put into sword and his newfound powers from God War 2. So it's like you get double the power to kill God, or more rage, hatred for the gods. A choice given by the gods is as useless as the gods themselves. So that's pretty cool. It's fine to the end. So anyway, Kratos defeated Zeus the first time, gets intent from the do again with new buddies, Titans, Gaia, Chromos, and the like too. So anyway, God War 3 comes out, that's gonna be fun. I'll call out link to that. Anyway, I thank you for watching my video on the second entry into this monumental franchise. I love God War, I love classical mythology, even though I feel like it kind of shifted away from the original mythology a little bit because they were trying to grasp a new territory to go to, and more characters assembled, like the Geas, Perseus, and all the characters like Uriel, the Fates. I don't think that you have had anything equivalent to the Fates in Norse mythology. And I'm thinking it's also I like her voice too, like he said his voice. And yeah, I did this for my month of love in 2026, February of that year. This year, I did this in my heaven feast. So cool, because it's badass. So it's Kratos. So all the text and CGI, even though it's very noticeable the difference between the graphics of this game versus the cutscenes. High quality for the cutscenes, and I like the way they up the skill with the music too, and with the blood and the boobies too. And yes, there is that mini game where they involve sex. In the first 5 minutes of the game, you fight a piece of the Colossus of Rhodes he throws you into a bathhouse full of good time, and then you enjoy yourself there, and you head back to combat. So it's a quick little break where they give you lots of orbs, and thank God they give you enough orbs to upgrade everything, because they give you like 7 or 8 weapons in the game with magical attacks too. Which, by the way, they've also given a few quality of life things in the game too. They give you iron bar for using like the bow and everything else that, rather than the magic meter. They give you like godly treasures or whatever treasures we used in like multiplayer and stuff like that. That's why they give you a better draw distance for the orbs to be collected, which I feel bad that in the first game, when you get enemies in the distance and the orbs couldn't come to you and they died out eventually. That was a shame. And then you got other stuff too. But anyway, I like the quality of like changes they make to the game. Anyway, if you guys like what you see here and want to see more of my videos, like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. You can also contact me for future information on my future stuff by calling me or texting me at 631-707-3707, or you can follow me on Twitter or X if you prefer at PNelsonPro. And my email is jjviewingchannel@gmail.com. So remember guys, I still all get God of War stuff and franchise and material and things like that. And stay frosty everyone. Peace out my brothers and sisters. See you in the next video, all you girls and guys in internet, and see ya. Sayonara and the V thing.